Hi. Is it really live stream number 54? That seems like we've done a lot. But here we are. We should be used to it by now, shouldn't we? Nothing should be a surprise. Because what are we going to look at? We are going to look at our trusty PowerPoint, Mac version PowerPoint. And we're going to go over the stuff that we go over every week, which is dealing with change. Dealing with getting our books out into the world and achieving fantastic reach. We're going to be making sure that we're all as expert as we need to be. We're going to go into depth where depth is necessary, and we shall do all of this at speed. So let's have a look to see what sort of areas we're going to be covering today. Have we done it in order today? Gosh, that would be a first, wouldn't it? Number one is indeed change. Great news. And the change this week are some itty-bitty tweaks that shouldn't have... Well, you probably wouldn't notice, but I feel like, hey, we do a live stream. If we're going to change something and do tweaks, then it's the perfect opportunity to mention those things. So just quickly, this is on custom reports. And some of the things we've done, we've added in a couple of new columns. So you can now choose print, GBP, consumer, RRP, Inc. tax, should you need to, and print USD, consumer, RRP, excluding tax column. So if you need that, and of course the reason we added it in was that somebody needed it, so you're welcome. If you need that, you know where to look. There are some other updates as well, chamfering off the edges, making sure that everything is just so. We've changed pub date to publication date. We all know what we mean, I suppose, but it's a contraction too far, isn't it? We've changed contrib with a dot to contributor. We've changed no dot in series to number in series. And team member also did a very clever thing, which was to make sure that the word volume appears in the description of that custom report element. So that means if you're searching for the word volume, because you're thinking, this is like the 6th volume in the series, it'll return that custom text element. So you'll find it. And then I quite like this one, because I've occasionally either here or on LinkedIn bang on with opinions about the word title or the word book or the word edition, and I rail and I say, why can't we just use proper words, standard words, so that we all know what we're talking about? Sure enough, there are instances buried within the code base where we've used the word title, where we mean the idea of a work. So we've hoovered those up. No one will notice. They will, because I'm going to blather it all over the internet on a weekly basis, aren't I? And we've also moved a particular data element. We've changed it from... We've moved the print publication date element. It used to sit in the identifiers section, and now it sits in the publication date section, which is a lot more consistent and sensible. So nothing will change. You don't need to do anything. But these are the words that will appear on the screen if you want to see them. So that's change for this week. What is next? Yes, bulk downloads. So I draw my inspiration for live stream content from a number of different places. Most often it's what we've shipped in the last week, or what we're working on, or what we're talking about as a team, or what customers write in to say, yeah, wouldn't it be great if we could... So that's obviously a rich seam of inspiration. But one other area is, I suppose I'll call them sales calls with potential new customers. And I sort of often say on these calls, we don't have a sales team, it's me. And here I am doing sales. Because, we don't want to have somebody desperately trying to, sell more product, sell more software, if if the rest of the team know that we're not going to be a good fit, or we're not going to be able to do a great job of helping that company with their requirements. So whenever we talk to a potential new client, it's always very much, we kind of assume that if things go well, we would be working together. So we get straight into the nitty gritty of, is this going to work out for both parties? So it's very fruitful. It's probably not how professionals are meant to do it, but certainly we prefer not to split out that idea of somebody finds and gets new customers and the rest of the team then work with them for the rest of the time. It's much more integrated. And that is a useful source of inspiration for talking about things here, because this week on one of those calls, a question was raised like, I was talking about, how does Constance work? You get data in, you do stuff with the data, and you get data out. I mean, that's fundamentally it, isn't it? So that we can all sell more books. And you need to do that with a bit of style and panache, and at speed and in a trustworthy way. But the question that came back was, oh right, how do you do that? What sort of data do you get out of the system? And it just sort of got me thinking, because we obviously there's the Onyx feeds that go out from Constance to all of your trading partners, and that's a feature that everything else almost revolves around. It's really important that your data can be transmitted to your trading partners in a format that is meaningful to them, that is going to fit in with their systems, that's going to make sense in your overall supply chain. So Onyx was, absolutely hot topic of conversation. But it got me thinking, there are a bunch of other places where data comes out of Constance for different reasons in different shapes and sizes. I feel like I'm blathering. Let's have a look at some of the possible areas that is. And in fact, I'm going to switch over to my real account on Constance. So if you don't know, I wear a number of hats. One of those is running Snowbooks, the preeminent, award-winning, independent trade publisher, which is a very, very small love of mine. But here we are, on Constance in my account, and let's have a look at some of the ways that we can get data out. And I brought you over here because, Feline Press, even though it's really handy to be able to share information on a weekly basis publicly, sometimes the sort of pretendness of it doesn't really capture some of these things. So let's have a look at the Onyx feeds that are really going out for Constance. And this is like the epitome of getting data out at scale, isn't it? It's very tailored. Each of my recipients, we've got Jellybooks, Bowker, Nielsen, Amazon, Gardeners here, they all need different things at different times, in different shapes, with different naming conventions in the file, with different content, different types of information. Is it incremental? Is it not? What prices are we sending? What territories are what territories are relevant to these recipients, and what product formats? Probably thousands of variables are taken into account. But I wanted to just remind you that at any time on your page, in your account, that'll look a bit like this, you can go in and see what happened. So last time data was sent to Bowker from my Snowbooks account, it was the 30th of June. Consonance sparked up a message at 1:30 in the morning, connected to their FTP location, transferred this file, changed to the covers directory, changed to the ebooks directory. Nothing needed sending at that point, so we don't see any further information there, and then said goodbye. If you are ever sitting at your desk thinking, oh, I wonder why hasn't such and such a person got my data? When did it get sent? I am confused and at a loss. You can absolutely, with no extra permissions or having to get in touch with us or anything, come to this page and have a look. And each of these rows will look a bit different depending on what happened. Let's look at this Jelly Books one. Look, we're writing data here. We're writing data in chunks. It's like streaming from our servers to another server because it was a big file, presumably. And so we can see, we can actually see what's happening. So if the response was that it failed, then it failed. You get to see that information. Maybe there's a problem one here. Let me just idly scroll down until I find a problem, because problems are just as useful. Certainly when you're doing a live stream, problems are just as useful as not. I can't find one. Everything's fine. But you get the gist. This is intended to give you agency and control and power to be able to see who got what and when, and did it work. It's like the receipts, isn't it? Show me the receipts. Here they are. And we can have a look at the actual file that was sent as well. So here is the XML file. I am not going to show this on the public internet. Don't have to. But you can go and you can have a look and you can click through and you can see how it was put together. You can download it and look at it yourself, the exact XML that was sent over. And here's an errors log if it did error. So really, really great to be able to send data in bulk out of the system, but not have it be a mystery. You can absolutely, and get in touch with us so that we can help you pick through any of these receipts to interpret them if you're unsure. But yeah, I always find it really helpful to have this sort of true history of what happened, because when something is missing on the internet, or when one system is saying X and another is Y, I don't know, I just like to be able to get to the history. Segueing from that to another sort of history, still in the bulk download section, let's go to the main menu. Again, we're sort of live here, and let's go to CSV exports in Data Exchange. So CSV exports has a bunch of CSV exports, and these links you can click on, and the contents will stream very large amounts of data down through your browser so that you can do further things with it. Because sometimes it's useful, isn't it, to be able to see something in Excel, put something into a data warehouse like Tableau. I don't know, I'm not the boss of you. If it's your data, if you want to transform it, do something with it, it's incumbent on us to make sure that you can get that information. And this is very kind of accessible to all. I think all of our users would not be worried about opening up a file in Excel and looking at it. Spreadsheets are very, I think, comfortable for publishers. So I'm leaving aside technical ways to get data in bulk out of the system now, because there's our GraphQL API and there's various other complex feeds that you might want to ask us about. But here we are on a web page that you can get at, and you can click on these links, and that's as complex as it gets. So I'll click on products. That's how it's a bit depressing actually, isn't it? 25 years of publishing, and that's how long it takes to download the products list to the desktop. So you can do that for what are we looking at here? This is a list of products. I'm not going to open it in LibreOffice. You could do that for works, for monthly sales, daily sales, all of your sales royalties. So for every sales transaction you've uploaded to Consonance, we will keep a log of how much royalty you calculated on it, so that at a line by line level, you know that you paid that much royalty on that sales transaction. Or at least the royalty amount was calculated on that sales transaction, and then it would have gone into a statement and aggregated either up or down to whoever the payee is. So it must be precise. Can't just say royalties you have paid, because that is not true. Royalties that have been calculated. To-dos and so forth. But I came to this page because we were talking about history of transmitting Onyx files. And I don't know if you know, but on this slight backwater of a page, we've got product metadata change reports for you. And we keep these logs. Look, a day ago, 3 days ago, 5 days ago. These are snapshots of all of the changes that have happened between whatever the date is on this report and today. So it is really useful if you want to see, you know, sort of in a spreadsheet format. These were the products in the last week where the price changed, and they changed from X to Y. Let's download. So look, there's one from like 2023 here. Let's have a look at the metadata changes. I've still got that dialog box open. The metadata changes that happened since then. You know, so I've got all of these different changes, and I've got like the pub date changed to that, and the title changed to something silly, and the current consumer RRP price has changed. And because this is quite a long time ago, you know, I've got quite a few changes on there. So that can be really useful. You know, if one of your jobs, which it could well be, is, you know, doing a round robin email to the rest of the team saying these are the changes that have happened, or if you've got another system that requires being updated and it doesn't take an API call and it doesn't take a feed, and you just have to be able to send it some sort of change report, what happened in the last week, who did what, then this can be really helpful. So that's what I wanted to mention as a bulk download area to have a look at. And then I got thinking, well, you know, there's bulk downloads wherever you look, really, in Consonance. We'll finish off in a moment going to Data Studio and just having a look at some of the ways that you can extract data at scale there. It's not going to be comprehensive. But before we go there, let's have a look at batches, because batches has got, again, maybe a slightly tucked away feature, which has saved my life on a number of different occasions. Slightly over the top there. Let's have a look at this batch called errors. Can't remember why I created that. It's called errors, fine. It's got some products in it, lovely. And there's this link at the top on this batch that I've created, and it's called zipped contents. And if we click on that, we can not only download all of the covers for the books that are for the products that are in this batch, but bottom right here, we can also download all of the ebook files. And the use case for this is that some bright spark goes out in an enterprising fashion, having been tasked with selling more books quite correctly, does a deal with an ebook aggregator, comes back triumphant to the office saying, great news, we're going to have a new channel to market. All we have to do is just simply send the last 10 years of EPUB files off to them. And if you're the one sitting there thinking, right, well, I wonder where all of those files are. I wonder how long that will take me to find the latest version, get it all into one place, zip it all up, and so forth. I've had to do that in the past, and this is why this feature exists, because it's a bit administrative, to say the least. So if that's you, and if you've had to do that and you never want to do it again, then click on Download Zip there, and then all of the ebook files for the products that you've collected into this batch will get zipped together, and you'll find them in notifications. I did this earlier, so I'll get that one whilst we're just waiting. It's quite a chunky file, look, because it's, what is it, 100 odd meg, and I'm already streaming, so the internet's a bit busy. So that's downloading nicely, and I'm going to be able to get all of my ebooks in a single click. Very nice. You do know, don't you, how to save a batch we'll have a look in a moment. You go to Data Studio, you use the tools in Data Studio, the filters, to whittle down the products list to the ones that you're interested in. And then there's an option and it's called Add Products to New Batch. Or you can add products to an existing batch as well. So then you save that batch as whatever you want to call it. Save it something better than errors, lowercase errors. You can call it what you want. If you want errors, you can do that. And then you can access this feature over here if you want. And as well as actually using that batch to find products in the future. So you could do another search. You could save that search. You can also use a batch as a basis for a search and layer other things on. I'll just, whilst I'm here, before I go and open that file and everything, the other things that we're seeing on here, these are, if I click on any one of these buttons, I'm going to get a zip file and it's going to have all of the cover images for the products that are in this batch, but they're going to be named differently, the actual files. And the zip files are going to contain image files at a different resolution and in a different colour space. So let's explain what's going on here. When you upload a cover image to Consonance, you're not uploading a 50 pixel wide JPEG and a 75 pixel wide JPEG. You're not doing all of that. You're uploading an original file. And the advice is upload the largest RGB colour spaced file that you can get your hands on. And then when that uploads, Consonance does something called a post process. After post you've uploaded it, it creates multiple variants of that file. So we'll create a PNG, we'll create a TIFF, we'll convert the colour space from RGB to CMYK. If you've uploaded a CMYK colour spaced file, we'll convert it to RGB. And I would suggest that you don't do that because sometimes the greens come out really bright. You want to be in control of your colour conversion, but we'll do it if you can't. And then we create a variant of all of these different widths and heights. It's funny, isn't it? Because after a while in the trade, you know which one Waterstones wants and you know which one Amazon wants and that sort of thing. But you'll have different reasons for wanting to download any of these. So that's all of the different variants that get created and stored. So you don't have to do multiple things like that. And then these columns, when you download those files, we will on the fly name each of the artwork files in whatever way you want. So if you are doing something moderately programmatic and you want to use the Consonance work ID as the name for the image, then click on one of the buttons in this column. If you want a really long and explanatory name for your cover image files, then click on that one and it gives the ISBN 13 and the title and something else. I can't quite remember. I think the size of the thing. If you want the work ISBN 13, click on this one, compared to if you want the product ISBN 13, then click on this one. So, if in your batch you've only got ebooks, but you actually want to get the cover image and you want it to have like that work identifier ISBN, then the code will go up to the parent work level, get that identifying ISBN 13 and use that as the naming convention, even though the product that's in your batch here might be an EPUB or an audio download or whatever. So if that's what you want, you can click on that. If you actually want it to be the product ISBN, which is a little bit less confusing, but might not be relevant for your purposes, then click on that one. Yeah, and then there's the funny down at the bottom, the ebook files, where you just get the ebook files. So let's open up that zip file. Oh, there's the one I did a minute ago. Let's open up that zip file and see that we got our ebooks. Where are we? Lovely. open up that. And there's all my ebooks in the EPUB format for the products that are contained within that batch, all ready to do whatever you want with them. So a really, really useful feature that I find, although it's like anything, it's not useful until it's useful, and then it's really useful. To finish off on our bulk download fest, let's go to our old friend, the Data Studio, because there are a bunch of options for getting data out in bulk. It's kind of the half of the whole of the point of it. So, you know, looking at something as straightforward as the products list, I mean, that's data in bulk, really, isn't it? So that's interesting. But if you also go to product custom reports, you can download the full results to Excel if you want to, or you can see it in line here. There are a whole bunch of downloady in bulk displays that you can switch to. So you can download straight away that product custom report and the contact custom report, 1,000 PDF tip sheets, all of the cover images if you wanted to. And you know, Constance will give you a little bit of a heads up here. You know, we found 103 products that are hardbacks. 95 of them have front cover images, so we can download those. 8 don't have a front cover image, so can't download what we don't have. But I find that quite useful to just sort of give a sense of, you know, it's almost like a data quality audit as you're going along. And then you can choose from Data Studio, you can choose some of those same things. You know, how do you want that named? What sort of size do you want? So this is the more dynamic version of what we were just looking at over on batches. So again, you know, Constance is stuffed full of features. You don't have to use them all. You can pick your preferred way of doing things. Sometimes it just gives a sense of like a comfort blanket to have products saved in a batch. It's like they're there and they're stuck there and you've put them there, and you don't have to use data and filters to get them out again. Whereas sometimes you want to be much more dynamic and say, well, whatever is currently in the system as a hardback, that's what I want. So it's horses for courses. So that's a really nice one, downloading cover images. And then there's some other, and I will stop at this point because you're getting the gist. If you ever need to get something out of the system in bulk, or indeed up into the system to import it, but that's another another story for another day, and you don't see what you're hoping for within the interface, definitely drop us a line, because I suspect there'll be a way to get it, and we'll point you to the bit of the system where it might be, or you know, it'll be a really great helpful idea for us to build that which doesn't exist and which you need. So just to finish off, there's a section when you're switching between displays called one-click downloads. Click on that and you get to see some of the one-click downloads available on this account, all of the ISBN 13s for the products, all of the products with a bit more information, the ID, the ISBN, the title, that sort of thing, and a prices list as well. So there's lots of ways to get data out of the system in multiple different formats. And that's kind of one of the main points, isn't it? Because yes, it's important to have your data all put together really nicely in one place so that you can see it and get at it. But there's no point if it can't be sent to the people who are going to exchange it for money, or exchange product for money with you. We all have to eat and stay in business. Great. So that was a ramble on bulk downloads. What's next? Derivations. This is quite a hefty agenda this week, because that was talked for a bit longer than I thought on bulk downloads. I wanted to mention derivations because, I mean, it is in the depth bit and in the expertise bit of our live stream. Derivations are not a part of the system that you would necessarily get to on day one or week one or possibly even month one. But they're not really they're not esoteric and they're not locked off from your use. They are a way to make sure you're only ever entering data once. That's our mantra, isn't it? One version of the truth. And they're a way to make sure that bibliographically your entire catalogue is related to itself as appropriate. So a derivation, a work derivation, if you think about, you will have done a second edition of something at some point. I feel in my bones it's safe to say everyone here has done a second edition. So that second edition is derived from the first edition. It is a revision, it's its own work, and it brings with it all of the good stuff from the original first edition. And so that's why we like derivations here at Consonance Towers, because I'll go back to Feline Press so I don't mank anything up. Because, we don't want to lose all of the value of the original edition. If you're doing a second edition, it's because something went really well. You managed to make the work successful such that there's now demand for more and for improvements to it. It's really exciting. You don't want to lose all of the information that's out on the internet and in other people's systems, like reviews and their own internal sales ranking or whatever. You want to make sure that when you put your second edition out, there's a sensible known about link from that to the first edition, so that other people's systems know that this is a goer, this is going to sell. In the past, I've been really worried about doing revised editions of books that have made it onto the core stock list at Waterstones or something, and I'm like, don't move, don't change anything, don't change the ISBN 13. Because then they might take it off core stock, and this incredible, helpful backlist sales, the £4,000 that I get every month or whatever, might go away. So you feel a bit nervous about changing this stuff up, and work derivations are one way to make sure that information gets carried over. So Cats Throughout History, not a real book, all made up, but there's derivation on it. And it's actually an abridged and compilation derivation. So that's another sort of derivation. We were talking just a moment ago about revisions. You can also compile. So you can say, I've got, I'm a terrible French language speaker, but the Proust, à la recherche de temps perdus, that comes in lots of different, shall I say volumes, works? Don't actually know bibliographically how that is arranged. But let's say there's 3 of them, and you might want to compile those 3 big chunky volumes into a massive omni volume. You would compile those 3 into a new derived work. It's its own work. It has products, a PDF, an EPUB, a paperback, a hardback, and you can sell it separately. But it brings along with it the intellectual property of its parents. So it's like an expansion pack for the family tree in bibliography, isn't it? We've hopefully got very comfortable with the idea of a work having many products. Here we are, a work having derived works. So there's an original work and derived works, and the derived works have that parent, and the original work has its children. All so that you don't have to type the same information in a lot of times, and so that it will make sense to other people's systems. Because, no matter how much work we do in Consonance and how many improvements we make to our system, we have to acknowledge that we're not an oasis in the desert. Other people exist, other systems exist, and what we're trying to do is make sure that your data is put into a format that other people's systems will work naturally with, so that you can sell more books and do less typing. Noble aims. So let's have a look to see how derivations work. You'll want to go to the metadata page on this. Oh, sad face. Oh, I'm on the wrong branch. Okay, let's go to up here. I'm not sure if I have any derivations actually. And I bet I can look on Data Studio. Kind of don't want to do that on live on YouTube though. So we might loop back to that, and I'm on the wrong branch, so I'll do something different on that next week. But yeah, really interesting bibliographically. If you're thinking about anything like an annotated edition, a new revised edition, a compilation, then it's definitely worth having a look to see, if this sort of idea can help. And I must just stress, we didn't invent this. This is all part of the Onyx standard. So if you have an original work that's derived properly, then kind of automatically in the Onyx messages that go out for the derived work, the original work's ISBNs are put into the right place, replaces edition or is related to this other work somehow. So, it really is kind of industry normal to do this stuff. And it's the way to make sure that each of your works is not just a standalone work floating out there in the ether. It's got relationships with others, and please, other person system, can you hoover up that data as well. Yep, so derivations, all very good. What is next on our list? Yeah, so I literally didn't change this slide from last week. Last week I said, and isn't it great to be able to quickly switch displays in Data Studio? And it surely is. And it's funny because it came up again this week on one of our chats with a potential new client. It was kind of brilliant and crazy, because I was listening to the potential new client talking about their hopes and dreams. What did they want in a system? And as they were talking, sort of looking up at the ceiling, dreaming the impossible dream, I was able to be on a demo account on Consonance, like following along, presenting on the page the pictures to illustrate their hopes and dreams. And so, they started off by saying, well, it would be just great if I could have my list of products, my canonical list of products. So, here I am. And, if I could see the schedule that was related to those products, if I could see what needed doing and who was doing what and when, then that would be really fantastic. So there I am, sort of jumping from the products list to the schedule here. And then they said, and of course, we have a rights team, so somehow we need to be able to get the information over to them. So I'm able to, go straight to the rights deal there, which I'm not going to show you, and license rights information and that sort of thing. And I'm able to go to drilling down into some of the, important quality control measures, because they were saying, we need to get a handle on that. Then I was, they said, and can your system get data out in spreadsheet format? So I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Here's us downloading a custom report that you're in control of the columns of. What about tip sheets and catalogues? Yeah, no problem, absolutely. And the crazy thing was, I was on this one page the whole time, just like dotting through, switching from one view of the product that I had filtered to, but I was able to see the data related to that selection in so many different ways. Even down to this sort of Kanban board of, what are the different stages that things are in there. And what was the really good one? Oh yes, the lightning source sidecar list. That went down extremely well because, this is pragmatic and relevant and, answering the questions of the moment in a meaningful fashion. So I thought I'd leave that that list up of what are we interested in. It's switching displays is a really powerful way to let consonants get out of the way so that you can follow a thread of thought all the way through without having to chop and change and do too much moving between different systems and that sort of thing. As you know, being treasured customers, we don't have different modules, we don't have different sign-ins. You sign into the one system and then that's it for the day. So having to not just sign into the production module or whatever, not have to go to the project management module, it is a boon, and that's why that's under speed this week, because it keeps you moving at the pace of your marvellous publishing brain. So that is lovely. Do we have another thing on the list for today? I think speed is massive one. This is the last one, and then I just want to say next week I'm not here. Actually, I've decided to go on a pony trek next Thursday afternoon, and I've also decided that because it's the middle of July and I'm not actually going on holiday, I shall have an afternoon off. So there won't be a live stream at all next week. I shall be atop a noble steed going through the Caledonian pine forests of northern Scotland and having a lovely time. But before that, a support ticket came in this week. Hi! And one of the amazingly useful suggestions on it was, wouldn't it be great if we could put a cover sheet on a catalogue, like a cover page? Because we can do that offline, but just mentioning it. And there's a number of different ways that could be achieved. And I'm going to show you one in the time left to me. And rather self-obsessedly, it's going to be in the bit of the system that we've been talking about quite frequently of late, which is the document templates. So do you remember that last week, I think, we were looking at not just setting up a document template for a single work, but a document template for multiple works. I can't quite remember which. Oh yeah, this is the one I did. Okay, great. So what this all is a bunch of HTML and styling markup, CSS. So if you're remotely familiar with either of those two words, this is for you. If you're not, this is probably not for you, because it's a lot to cover in the next 8 minutes of how to write a web page and how does the internet work. But if you like a little bit of scripting and a little bit of writing HTML and CSS, then listen on. So we've been talking about putting together any kind of document template that you might need. Some of the use cases are printer orders or web pages or great big long Word documents, because you can open an HTML document in Microsoft Word and it works pretty well, or a PDF or any other sort of regular kind of very free form, very particular to you document that you produce that you need to have absolute control over. So it's all very well with us having the marketing material templates. They are unashamedly great. But you're constrained, you're helpfully constrained, because you're really making an advanced information sheet with those, aren't you? Some sort of flyer catalogue page or multi-page catalogue. Here, you have got absolute control, and you're using the data elements that we're exposing here, which you can sort of mesh together like a like a mail merge in the olden days, where you have a bunch of fixed content, fixed styling, and then you snick in bits of data, dear salutation, first name, that sort of thing. And so we built this a few weeks back, or at least you can absolutely click on it from the library that's on the document templates homepage. And if you ignore the bit hi, in fact, let's just delete the bit hi, this is our catalogue. By doing that and pressing save, then we put together this advanced information sheet with a little bit of styling. This is a colour, this is a font size and transform, this is another font and colour, this is layout, this is a different size font, this is data. Great, all happy so far. And the top of this template starts with the code going through each of the works in a works collection. So you're on the template definition bit here. When you go over to Data Studio, you pull together all of the different works that you want, and you generate this template for as many works as are in your current search. So you're setting up the template here, looking at one work just to figure out what the template should look like, and then you use it in Data Studio, and you use it for as many different works as you're interested in. But one thing you could do before you start looping through all of those works is put in a bit of information, a bit of code, a bit of styling that sits outside of that loop. And so if we press, I'll put that back in, we press save. So I've got like a cover page here. Hi, this is our catalogue, style, design, words, wow. And then I've put in a bit of HTML with a class called page break, and I've defined the class page break. I don't think this is as accessible as it needs to be. We'll look at that. Page break after page. So that is going to introduce a page break on the print option of this HTML page. So I think we've got time to follow this through and you can see what I mean. So we've set up this template, press save on that. The idea here is that we've got a bit of header text, and obviously you would do a beautiful job and it would have style and images and beautifulness and the right sort of margins and everything, but we'll get the gist of it. So we've got the top bit, and then we've got the information that will be presented once for each, it literally says once for each of the members in this collection. So this template is called, I'm just going to change it because I'll always forget, this one, this one. And if we go over to Data Studio, then we will generate, we'll go to ebooks, I think, and we'll go to the bit that we were looking at, downloading in bulk. Download works document from template. Awesome. Let's use this one, which I just saved. And this is going to, just think, before I frantically press buttons, what's going to happen here? We've got 51 works. We're going to expect to get an HTML file out. It's going to have that header appear once, and then it's going to print out 51 lots of whatever we put in that loop. So let's press generate document, and we'll expect to see it over here. Shall I cheat and look at the one that I generated? I don't have to cheat. There you go. Did it in less time than is going to stop us. So here is our file that has been generated, and if we open it in Firefox, so do you see it at the top? It says, do you see that? Yeah. We're not on the internet anymore. It doesn't say HTTPS. It says file users Emma downloads name of the document .html. An HTML file is the sort of file that you will come across on the internet, but it's a file just like a text file or a docx file or an XLS file. And a browser is a piece of software to open files, just like Microsoft Word can open a docx file. So it might be a bit uncomfortable to think of a browser. I'm in Firefox. You might use Chrome, Opera, Microsoft Edge. Can't think of any others. You might only ever use a browser to browse the internet, but you can absolutely open HTML files in it. And as I mentioned, we're expecting to see a break here. Well, that's a print style sheet command. So let's do Command and P to print this thing. By default, my system defaults to save to PDF. You can actually print it on a printer if you want, but don't, obviously. So here we are, save to PDF. Here's my preview, and I get my cover page with its break faithfully put in there. If I scroll down, I've got one of the entries on this template per page. There's the first one, there's the second one, there's the third one. We're going to have 51 in here, aren't we? So I'm going to keep scrolling till I get to one with some actual useful content. And it's going to look like whatever you've told it to look like. So pretty spry, don't you think, to be able to use the markup language of the internet that is, again, very much understood by other people's software. We're in Firefox here. Constance has nothing to do with writing browsers, but we're emitting your data in a format that other people's software absolutely can handle. And you get so much for free when you use the print abilities of a browser. There are a lot of very clever people putting a lot of hours into writing good browsers. They have to handle such variation. It's extraordinary. So, on the fly, you can print out something in the landscape format. You can print it out in a different paper size. That's going to be quite big. Let's go to A3. It's all tiny there, but it's all kind of there. You can absolutely do it, and it's going to look exactly as you want it to look. So quite an interesting idea, I think you might agree, to have for those moments where you need real flexibility and control about emitting information from your account. As we've said, HTML and CSS, they're not, beginner tools. You're approaching being a web developer at this point, but it's not, I shouldn't really say things like, if I can do it, you can do it, but it kind of is true. Hello, arts graduate here, but I just really like being in control of my data. And I really like having agency and power and being able to do stuff like this. And it just so happens that, I thought those thoughts 20 years ago, and time passes, and so I've got quite good at it. But, these are quite accessible tools, quite accessible pieces of learning that you can do. I mean, if you're sitting there thinking, oh yes, but not me, but you're remotely interested, then do drop us a line. I'd be so excited to share some resources with you to get you going, because then you can do the things that otherwise you'll have to put out to tender, or you'll have to persuade somebody in marketing to do for you, or you'll have to wait until you've got the budget passed or something. Just thrilling to be able to do things yourself without being too reliant on other people. Sometimes teamwork is great. Having agency, also great. Lovely. To be able to see this, as I mentioned last week, you need to let us know that you want to opt in to this feature, because at the moment, if you go to your account and you look in Data Exchange, unless you're one of the, I think, 5 clients who's opted into this feature, you're not going to see document templates, and you're not going to be able to have a little poke around. It costs nothing in both our time and your money to turn this feature on for you. So definitely just drop us a line and we'll do that, and then take it from there. So thanks so much to those who have been dibbling around. We're adding to that feature all the time. We've got a few excellent requests in for some extra data tags, which will be shipped sooner rather than later. So yeah, always here to help, always here to help you get your data out into the world as efficiently and fulsomely as possible. Great. I think we have reached the end of this week's live stream. Yeah, I'm going horse riding now. Nice for me. And I'm going horse riding next Thursday. Bit of a summer holiday week, maybe. So have a super time of it. I will see you, God, whenever that is. It's going to be mid-August, isn't it? Everything's fine. But don't be a stranger. Keep in touch. Give me the old like and subscribe. Carry on. And let us know anything that you'd like us building into consonants or talking about on this here live stream next time we meet. Great. Have a